So, Harley-Davidson has a new CEO, Artie Starrs, or otherwise known as Artie Starrs. So what does this mean for the motor company? Well, we're going to take a deep dive into who exactly this new CEO is and go rely upon publicly available data to draw some conclusions so we can try to extrapolate what that means for the motor company. Stay tuned. Hey guys, if you're anything like me, you like to ride protected, and it's hard because there's a million different armor options out there, and it's hard to try to find the right armor, especially in the summer heat in Alabama. I would encourage you to check out bonarmor.com. They have an assortment of different types of armor. They've got cool weather armor to wear, like flannels and things like that, armored flannels. They've got hot weather stuff that goes on under your regular clothes that keeps you armored, doesn't make you look like a sport bike rider. Nothing against your sport bike guys, but keeps you protected as well. And they've got the under layers for cold weather as well. So check out bonarmor.com. If you go over there, use code BACalvin at checkout to save $10 off your order of $100 or more. That's code BACalvin at checkout. Go check them out. It's what I wore all summer. This summer when I was riding around, especially in the movie documentary that just dropped, 2,800 Miles Later, Exploring the Western South. I wore that under my clothes for a good portion of that summer ride. So check out that movie. Check out the armor. You won't be disappointed. Now, back to our video. With Johann Zeitz on the way out at Harley-Davidson, the board has chosen an outsider to take over the reins at Harley-Davidson. And that means some potential changes for the company, perhaps. But the man driving this train is Artie Starrs, formerly of Topgolf and Pizza Hut. And while he had achieved some success at these two locations, how does that translate to the motor company? Well, let's take a look at some of the publicly available resources to try to figure out what this man is all about, where he comes from, and how that potentially has an influence on his leadership style at the motor company. Now, I want to make it clear, there is a lot of information that, if you know where to look for, is online and is available about Mr. Starrs. However, he maintains a pretty polished public appearance, and you really have to look in the nooks and crannies to find his stuff. This is indicative of what a professional person who is in the public limelight typically does. They maintain a very public profile. They make sure that everything that's about them that's out there is controlled. Most likely he has a social media consultant or a publicist or someone along those lines, at least consulting him, controlling what is publicly available for him. For example, his LinkedIn is very closed down, is very corporate feeling, and any other social media information is hard to find. He doesn't have a publicly available, easily searchable, any kind of Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. But we're going to look in those nooks and crannies and see what we can find and try to draw conclusions from what we can find. First of all, Artie Starrs is from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. His father was Artie Starrs Jr., which leads me to believe that he's a third. So he's Artie Starrs III. Now, when you take a look at his lineage and where he comes from, what kind of household he was in, Artie Starrs Jr., who was his dad, was a corporate counsel for PepsiCo in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for years. He was at Frito-Lay in Dallas for many years, and then before that, he was counsel for PepsiCo in New York. Now, when you take a look at Artie Starrs Jr., there is publicly available information on his obituary. Now, what is publicly available about Artie Starrs Jr. is that he was born in New York City in 1948, and that he was educated by the Jesuits there in New York City. Now, if you think about how private school works, in order to go to private school, especially in a place like New York City, you have got to have the funding to be able to do that. So this suggests that the Starrs family, even before Mr. Starrs Jr. becoming an attorney and all that, had some money laying around. Artie Starrs Jr.'s obituary goes on to read, whether he was watching a Yankees game with his grandsons, traveling in Europe with his daughter, or on the golf course with his sons and friends, Art was constantly making memories with those whom he loved. And even though he resided in Dallas for many years, his funeral was held at the St. Paul the Apostle Catholic Church in Manhattan in New York. So this suggests, even though the Starrs family lived in Dallas-Fort Worth, that they really had strong ties back east in New York City. This suggests that a lot of them are from the New York City area. All this kind of suggests a pedigree that has strong ties back to the Northeast. Now moving on to Artie Starrs, which is Arthur Starrs III. He grew up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Again, his father an attorney for a very large international company. So while information is not really publicly available about where exactly they lived, I'm guessing that by the information that is publicly available that Mr. Starrs had a very comfortable childhood. While he was a child, he was part of the Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra, an organization that requires a tuition, as well as suggests that one would have private tutoring or have a private music teacher assigned to you or hired by you in order to help you choose what, ensemble to become part of. Now, I'm not trying to say that the Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra is any kind of elite organization or anything like that. It is like any other after-school activity or summer activity, but just to give you an idea for the Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra, right now for 2025-2026 season, the tuition for just the orchestra is $650. This doesn't count the private teacher that everything kind of alludes that you would have. And Starrs would go on to be a part of the Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra for a period of time of about 7 years during his childhood. After going to high school, Mr. Starrs went on to college at Princeton University, where he studied economics. One of the things he touted during an interview during his time at Topgolf was something about his experience at Princeton University. That while he was at Princeton University, he was able to connect with his grandfather, who had a farm in the area, who was a chicken farmer essentially in the area. Now, I've done a lot of checking to try to find a chicken farm somewhere around Princeton University, but this information is really hard to find, so I'm not able to confirm that little bit. But what Starrs told us about that particular situation is that he learned how to connect with the working man over there with his grandfather. Now, he's not specific about which grandfather it was. I'm guessing that it's a grandfather on his mother's side, because the grandfather on his father's side is from New York. Not really sure about any information about his maternal grandfather. But in an interview that he did during his time at Topgolf, he really lays into his ability to connect with the working man because of his experience in chicken farming with his grandfather. Also, he states that in an interview he did with the Greater Dallas Youth Orchestra that he fell in love with opera in college. After obtaining a degree in economics from Princeton University, Starrs went on to an investment banking company, Wasserstein Perella, based in New York. He was an investment banker over there for several years. Now, to give you an idea of what Wasserstein Perella was all about, they were self-described as a dynasty of bankers and executives that have spread throughout Wall Street and corporate America. In 2000, this bank was ranked 5th in the U.S. as an advisor on mergers and acquisitions as well. So these guys were big-time investment bankers. Starrs served as a financial analyst and associate at Wasserstein Perella and Company from September of 1998 to January of 2005. After his time as an investment banker, Mr. Starrs went on to serve as Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of Rave Cinemas from March of 2005 to July of 2013. What's important to note is that Mr. Starrs' tenure at Rave Cinemas ended because the company sold off the majority of its assets, thus signaling a pretty good time for him to make his exit from over there. After his time at Rave Cinemas, Mr. Starrs went on to Pizza Hut, where he served in several different roles. He was president of Pizza Hut from April 2016 to July of 2019, general manager of Pizza Hut US from October 2015 to April 2016. Prior to that, he served as CFO of Pizza Hut from January 2014 to October of 2015, and Vice President of Finance from August 2013 to December 2013. So Mr. Starrs rose through the ranks over there at Pizza Hut for about 6 years while he was over there. Now, what's important to note is that there is a connection between Pizza Hut and PepsiCo. Back in 1977, thereabouts, PepsiCo acquired Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and KFC, and then spun them off into their own brand called Yum Brands. But Pizza Hut was part of PepsiCo from 1977 up until 1997 when it was spun off into Yum Brands. However, there is a strong connection between PepsiCo and Pizza Hut, with Pizza Hut still serving many Pepsi products up until this day. Now remember, Starrs' father was corporate counsel for another Pepsi subsidiary, Frito-Lay, for many, many years, and before that was for PepsiCo corporate over in New York. So this is a company that was familiar to Mr. Starrs. While at Pizza Hut, he tried to introduce some things focused on customer experience. But during Mr. Starrs' time at Pizza Hut, we saw the change from the traditional pizza style restaurants to the kind of quick order, grab and go type experience. But one of the things that Mr. Starrs tried to focus on while he was over there was customer experience. What was the customer experience like at Pizza Hut? I did forget to mention that between July of 2019 until April of 2021, he was global CEO of Pizza Hut, I guess, across the world. So I did leave out that period of time. So it wasn't just 6 years over at Pizza Hut. It was something like 8 years that he was over at Pizza Hut. To push the e-commerce thing over there, that got to be really big, and they were really doing a lot of online ordering. He kind of oversaw a lot of that going on over there, and so they did a lot to try to compete with their other brands that was really leaning into the technology at the time. Starrs also led the negotiation that resulted in Pizza Hut becoming the official sponsor for the NFL. So that really brought Pizza Hut into the limelight with a lot of what would be their core fan base, I guess. What's better than pizza and football, right? However, Starrs publicly acknowledged that one of the brand's biggest problems was perception at the time. He was extremely dissatisfied with the performance of the company in that regard. Even though there was a push to be less of the dine-in type restaurants and to be more of a quick order delivery situation, Starrs acknowledged that many people didn't think of Pizza Hut in that aspect. They kind of think of Pizza Hut in the red roof tile or red roof type restaurant, the kind of go and dine in type of pizza restaurant. And that's something he really fought to get away from. In April of 2021, Starrs went on to become the CEO over at Topgolf. Now, what's interesting to note over there is that there is another Pepsi connection. Back in 2024, Topgolf announced that PepsiCo was going to become the official beverage provider to all Topgolf locations, introducing an 8-year beverage agreement with PepsiCo. But while at Topgolf, Starrs oversaw significant expansion and financial growth. In 4 years, the company's annual revenues grew more than 50%, increasing from $1.1 billion in 2021 to $1.8 billion. So it kind of gives you an idea of a little bit of his background, is that he's deeply connected in the business world to a lot of folks over there, Yum Brands, PepsiCo, all that. I think there's some connections there that he's got with the whole Pepsi world. I think a lot of that has to do with just who you know, the circles you run with. His father knew a lot of these folks. Undoubtedly, they knew his family. So I think there's a strong connection there with Pepsi. Now, something that I would like to note here is that I'm not trying to tear this man down, but what I am trying to do is give you context about his background so you can understand where he's coming from. I think that Mr. Starrs comes from a very privileged family. He had a very comfortable childhood. Not to say that the man is not capable, but this is the kind of person that Harley-Davidson has hired to become the new CEO of the company. Now, what his track record of success states is that a lot of the things that he's done, especially at Pizza Hut and at Topgolf, is to try to work on the leadership, the team experience, as well as the overall customer experience. This hire is very telling from the board over there at Harley-Davidson. And it kind of makes sense in the context of Harley-Davidson corporate. Now, we go through all this deep dive history in an attempt for you to understand who this man is that Harley-Davidson has hired on to be the new CEO. Remember, this is a pick by the board in the situation that Johann Zeiss was in as president of the board and CEO of the company, where he was under immense fire of picking a new CEO who is an outsider to Harley-Davidson. They picked a man who has immense ties to the corporate world of Pepsi. However, he is a performer. He did at Pizza Hut try to turn that around, and they focused a lot on the teamwork building as well as the leadership experience over there at Pizza Hut. And then when he went on to Topgolf, he did increase their profit margins. He did increase their profitability of the company. He did focus on the customer experience. So, especially since Harley-Davidson is a customer-centric brand, they focus on the experience of owning a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, not necessarily on the product itself, although the product itself is important, don't get me wrong. But the idea around Harley-Davidson is the experience of owning a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. This is likely the direction that the board was trying to go in. They want to find a guy who can kind of bring value and build value into the ownership experience of the motorcycle. But what's interesting about Starrs' background is the technology focus. So when he was at Pizza Hut, he helped to instill the online pizza delivery, the online experience, things of that nature. And then when he was at Topgolf, he tried to improve the online experience and things over there at Topgolf. They made it more of a technology-centric company. How does that translate to motorcycles? Harley-Davidson is going to be something completely far and away different from anything that he's ever been in before. However, this is not all bad. Where Starr can excel is by promoting the customer experience. He did that at Pizza Hut and he did that at Topgolf. In focusing on the experience of the customer with the brand, he was able to make improvements with these particular companies. And in the case of Harley-Davidson, that's not a bad thing. Harley-Davidson is a motorcycle company for sure, but they're also an experience company. Going in, interacting with the brand, going into the dealerships, riding the motorcycles, all the media events, all the events that they put on, the rallies, all this other stuff that they sponsor. All of this is part of the Harley-Davidson experience. So for a company that sells motorcycles and promotes experiences, to bring in a CEO who can really focus and double down on the experience of owning a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, maybe that's something that the company needs. It's also an often told rumor that the young generation is not really interested in Harley-Davidson motorcycles. And that truth is somewhat reflected in the statistics. The fastest growing segment in motorcycles currently is not full dress baggers. It's not, any other type of bike other than adventure bikes. Adventure bikes are the hot new thing, and Harley-Davidson was correct to capitalize on this with the introduction of the Pan American. But the challenge for Harley-Davidson, even though they've taken a bite out of that particular segment by introducing the Pan American, the challenge for Harley-Davidson remains attracting riders to the brand, trying to help people to understand why, as far as from the brand's perspective, why Harley-Davidson's a good buy, why this culture is a good buy, why it's a good idea to get in on this particular company and the culture. And that's what this CEO is going to need to sell. And he needs to sell the customer experience of owning a Harley-Davidson in 2025 and beyond. Of course, the trait of a good leader is being able to surround yourself with people who understand the brand, who understand the culture and all that. So, whereas Starr may not be a biker, he may not have, years in the power sports industry or know motorcycles, he may know golf and he may know pizza. But as long as Starr surrounds himself and puts the correct team in place over there at Harley-Davidson to promote this customer experience and to help him navigate the motorcycle culture as well as get the nuance of the motorcycle community correct, I think that's going to be Starrs' secret to success here. I think that's going to be his winning formula. He has got to surround himself with people who are in the know about the culture and the brand, because let's be honest, he just doesn't know it. But all in all, I think the reasons why Harley-Davidson hired Starr are spot on. His strengths are certainly in the avenue of expertise that the motor company needs. So, can Starr pull this off? Can Starr take the reins and effectively transform the motor company into something that would be more attractive for younger riders while staying faithful to the older riders and overall promoting an awesome Harley-Davidson experience? Time will tell. But I think keying in on one of Harley-Davidson's strengths, the experience, while getting the rest of the product line more accessible, and that kind of feeds in the experience too, right? Because if you can't access the brand, you can't experience it, right? All of these things, improving the experience, making the bikes more accessible, and then ditching all the ridiculousness that has been introduced in the motor company in recent past, that's all going to be required to pull the motor company back from the brink. So anyhow, what do y'all think? Do you think Starr is going to be a good fit for the motor company? Do you think that he is the right guy to bring in for this job? What do you think he'll do for the Harley-Davidson experience? What do you think should be changed to make the Harley-Davidson experience better? Please leave a comment below. We'd love to discuss it, or I would love to discuss it rather. Leave a comment below. Let's talk about it. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video.